Welcome back to Carlton Cornwall in Auckland for the second day of finals at the Summerset National Singles in Pairs. Now time for semi-final action in the men's pairs. It is Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers, the Royal Oak Club, up against Dan Dickerson and Nicholas Tomset, composite pairing from Bay of Plenty. Brenton Van Nistelrooy alongside Kevin Hickland with the call as we are underway on the first of 18 ends, and already seen action with the jack moving off that centre line. And good bowls played, Kevin, from both to start this contest.
Yeah, Dan Dickinson, in fact, as they changed over, Michael Bradshaw, his first bowl, drew right to the jack, and we saw Dan Dickinson just sit on top of the Bradshaw bowl and make shot of it. And we've seen Bradshaw again playing with searching weight, trying to get to the shot bowl of Dan Dickinson's, of the Bay of Plenty, the police prosecutor, and started his bowls, in fact, in Wellington, or Dunedin, in fact, in Wellington, and played for many years up in the far north, and now in the Bay of Plenty. And of course, Nicholas Tomset, his lead last year, got beaten in the Ryan Burnett, in fact, in the semi-finals of the Summerset National Singles in Christchurch.
Yes, it's semi-finals 2 years running for the youngster from the Mount Maunganui Club. So certainly one for the future, and very much the present out of Bay of Plenty. So both pairs have actually changed around their order from the way that they entered the tournament. So John Carruthers was initially listed as the skip. Bradshaw, though, has taken over the skipping duties, and likewise Dan Dickerson is skipping with Tomset his lead.
And in fact, many years ago, Dan Dickerson, playing with his father, Phil, got beaten in the semi-final of the National Fours in Christchurch. Rowan Brassey defeated them in the semi-final of the Fours a number of years back. And another bit of history, I suppose, it's virtually 40 years to the day at the Onehunga Bowling Club, where Phil Dickinson, the father of Dan, and brother Ian, of course, who represented New Zealand for a number of years, won the national pairs over Jack Gilbert and Bert Robertson of the now finished Hillsborough Bowling Club. And Phil Dickinson, the father of Dan Dickinson, is sitting here today watching his son, seeing if possibly they can repeat what the two brothers did 40 years ago here in Auckland. Well,
funnily enough, coming up against partnership from Royal Oak, which is the merger of the Hillsborough and Onehunga clubs. So there's that little tie-in as well.
John Carruthers, the lead for the Royal Oak side, formerly a Carlton Cornwall member as well, and also used to play out of what was the old Rawiti club, which is now no longer in existence. Very, very accomplished lead is John Carruthers, and Mike Bradshaw, who started his bowls, I think, at the Ellerslie club, and then to what was Onehunga RSA, and now plays out of the Royal Oak Club, has played for Auckland for a number of years, and again, very good, formidable player, great number of shots, he's got shot selection, as we've seen here at the start of the second end.
Yeah, just confirming it was just the one to Dickerson and Tomset in the first end of 18, so 1-0 Dickerson and Tomset leading Bradshaw and Carruthers. So Bradshaw and Carruthers got the better of the young guns, Aidan Takarua and Richard Hocking, 24-16 in their quarter-final, while Dickerson and Tomset beat Belcher and Kapet 18-13 in theirs. Both of those going the distance, playing the full 18 ends. Of course, the quarter-final we broadcast to you earlier, finishing after 16 ends with Jamie Hill, Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill leading Craig Merrilees and Craig Tinker 25-12, winning that one. And they will play Pat Houlihan and Howard O'Donnell, and that's been played just a couple of rinks away, as you can see, just to the right of picture, after Houlihan and O'Donnell beat Stoddart and Taiaroa 20-15.
Now, talking to the greenkeeper at lunchtime, and it's still, it's green's just running slightly over the 17 seconds, building up towards the 18-second mark as we watch this bowler, Nick Tomsett, just breaking in towards the jack, coming to the centre line. 3 very good bowls here on the second end from the leads. And of course, again, we're seeing here, Brendan, 2 more bowls 3-5 players in the Royal Oak Rockets from John Carruthers and Mike Bradshaw have had various stints, of course, playing at the Royal Oak Rockets. So, as we said earlier on this morning, certainly a big number of the bowls 3-5 players who have won their way through to the latter stages of the National Championships.
Yeah, quite incredible how it has worked out over these first 2 finals days. Those who participated in Bowls 3-5 on Sky Sport in recent times, progressing deep into the Summerset National Singles and Pairs. Lance Pascoe, another of those who we had broadcast his quarterfinal earlier today, member of the Elmwood Park Saints.
Another good bowl by Nicholas Tomsett, coming right back to that centre line in that really good arc in the bowl. And this green today, if you take your green, you'll certainly be favoured in your draw shots for sure. Green's in very, very good condition, and this is going to be under the line, this bowl of John Carruthers. You can clearly see there watching at home that if you don't get that bowled out, it's certainly not going to arc to that draw line. And we saw an exhibition of that this morning, didn't we, Brendan, with Jamie Hill leading for Lance Pascoe. He certainly gave a first-class exhibition in leading in this level of the event, or any event. You get leading like that, you're going to go a long way.
Yeah, it was a massive help for Lance Pascoe. It really had the table set from end after end by Jamie Hill as they dominated their quarterfinal against the 2 Craigs from Southland, Merrilees and Tinker. There's Dickerson giving this plenty of green, wanting a bit of cover. If Bradshaw plays the aggressive shot, now certainly has the back bowl.
And Mike Bradshaw, very good attacking player, good on the draw, but also very, very good attacking player, and good to the players and the members at down at Tauranga Domain, who I know you'll be watching this telecast. You'll be watching this live, especially President Paul Hunt, who's had a lot to do with Nationals over the years and his role at National Insurance in Tau, now present at Tauranga Domain, and he'll certainly be there supporting especially Dan Dickerson, who's a member of the Tauranga Domain Club.
Yeah, Bay of Plenty combination of Dickerson and Tomsett. Tomsett are the Mount Maunganui Club, of course, which we were lucky to be hosted by last year at the Summerset National Fours.
Great complex there at Mount Maunganui. So here's Mike Bradshaw trying to draw inside to that centre line, just going to drop outside the shot bowl. Great attempt by Mike Bradshaw, indicating from John Carruthers about half a metre over the head, certainly on the right line. Dan Dickerson with his first fell, a metre and a half short. Here he is again now on the backhand, certainly on a wider line this time. Bowl's getting encouraged by Nicholas Tomsett to draw right back to the centre line. More than likely had good weight, Brendan, but just a bit on the wide side.
Yeah, ends up jack level. Pretty much all the bowls, a number of the bowls, 6 of them all pretty much on a line. There's Bradshaw with the last bowl of the second end. It's not going to be able to change the situation. 2 signals Nicholas Tomsett. So 2 more for the Bay of Plenty combination. 3-0 they now lead. Bradshaw and Carruthers after 2 of the 18 ends.
And looking out there on the green now, you can see there's no wind at all this afternoon. It's just still. And I was talking to Pat Houlihan after he came off the green from his quarter-final match, and he remarked to me, he said, "This is like Central Otago heat today." He says, "This is really, it's hot out there." And I don't know whether that jack will be up. They're going to call straight away, I think, to
get Sue Rossiter on, will they? Or they not even bother? Is it?
put a hand wave in and checking how far the jack is up from the minimum mark. It looks like Sue Rossiter is about to... No, they're happy. No, I see Sue Rossiter disappearing back inside the club room. So,
yeah, obviously content. Not quite sure. Mike Bradshaw seemed to be looking at someone behind him, but it wasn't to an official. Well, Sue Rossiter is making her way back rink side.
So, well, there's still some dispute over it. Looks as though she's going to talk to the skips. Somebody with the scoreboard, I think. Oh, okay. Maybe some wrong names, perhaps.
And it's also got them, I think, the wrong way around, because I believe Bradshaw and Carruthers should be on the left-hand side of the board.
Well, we look at
yet the score on the left-hand side of the board went to Thomset and Dickerson. So,
well, we look at the draw cut sheet here we've got in front of us, and we know it's definitely Carruthers and Bradshaw at the top.
So we had it right. So Bradshaw and Carruthers should be red. No, because they're going to change the scoreboard. Alex is going up.
So at the end of this end, have Mike Kernahan, who will join with Brendan for 20 minutes, half an hour. Listen to the words of one of New Zealand's leading players.
I think Mike Kernahan disagrees with that.
Well, I'll still say he is. That's why he's in the New Zealand side. In fact, Mike Kernahan in his earlier days no doubt would have played with the Dickinson family at some point, I imagine, in Dunedin. That's not insinuating that Mike Kernahan's been around for a long, long time.
I think that's exactly what you're insinuating, actually.
But I'm sure he would have played with the Dickinsons at some point in time in Dunedin. John Carruthers with a very fashionable Panama hat on. Gets the jack, moves it back to where his bowl is. Back off, further back on the green, off the centre line.
Mike Bradshaw marking that one as a toucher. So again, the jack moves off the centre line, as it did in our opening end of this men's pairs semi-final.
Well, both times, isn't it? That's happened here on this end, isn't it? Going that way. It's
3-0. Dan Dickerson, Nicholas Thomset leading Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers. Currently playing the third end of 18 for a place in the men's pairs final against either Pat Houlihan and Howard O'Donnell or Jamie Hill and Lance Pascoe.
And of course we'll be bringing that game live at around about 2:30. And let's hope whoever is in the final that lives up to equal or better than the women's singles final which we had yesterday, which was an outstanding game where we saw Nicole Toomey play that absolutely superb drag of the jack to score a 4 and win her first New Zealand title.
Don't think Bradshaw likes this, given his reaction on the mat. Hung his head. Disappointment.
I just wonder, Brent, I've been watching both ends now again, like we had this morning, coming that way on the backhand side. Doesn't whether it's got the same arc as it going the other way, because we've seen a number of bowls already. If you're on that wider side, now Dan Dickinson here certainly brought that line. He certainly brought it in from where his first bowl was, and this looks a good bowl from Dickinson now as it rakes towards the jack, sits right on top of it, front toucher.
Great bowl from the skip. It was Bay of Plenty combination.
And not easy to get to, Brenton.
Certainly not. And as you said, on the trickier side, playing from the clubhouse to the Alexandra Park end of the surface here at Carlton, Cornwall. It certainly seemed that it was more comfortable, or the players more comfortable playing on the forehand side, playing this way.
So Dan Dickinson will endeavour to draw to where that John Carruthers bowl is, out to the side of the head, and that would certainly give him another counting bowl. It's on a good line. How's the weight? Is it going to get all the way through to that? It is. And it's well played. So Bradshaw will see now, change his hand, trying to reach up on that forehand side, make some contact, playing with weight, gets onto his own front bowl, in fact turns another one over, but won't alter the head. And I'll just pass Mike Kernahan, will come in to take over from me for a while.
Kevin Hicklin earning a rest. Checking in will be Mike Kernahan. It's another good end for the Dickinson-Tomset combination, as they've taken early control of proceedings here in this men's pairs semi-final against John Carruthers and Mike Bradshaw. Just waiting for the board to be turned over and confirming it was 2 more for Dickinson and Tomset. So 5-0 they lead Bradshaw and Carruthers after 3 now of the 18 ends, as we welcome in Mike Kernan. Very good morning to you. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
I think just.
Right. Beautiful.
I did check the watch beforehand. Good to see you here. I suppose you'd rather be out there, obviously.
Yeah, no, would rather be out there. But look, the 4 teams left have been playing really, really well and under difficult conditions, so they deserve to be there. So good luck to them all.
You're in the same section of the draw where Aidan Takarua and Richard Hocking emerged from. It seemed a pretty difficult section. You had the defending champs and Ray Martin there. You obviously played Mike Galloway and Martin Dixon. It was a pretty tough little section. They'd obviously been playing pretty well, so Carruthers and Bradshaw must be pretty handy to have beaten them.
Exactly. And look, we were out at Howick yesterday, and the green was beautiful. All of us played well in the game that we lost to Mike Galloway, so they thoroughly deserved it. Then they go and get beat by Aidan, and Aidan finished it off in the last game against Ray Martin, and so deservedly here. And then they got tripped up in the quarter-final. But that's life. That's what happens. We were in the same section in qualifying as Nick and Dan here.
Okay.
And we were due to play the last game, but of course that got didn't get to be. So they were going really well in section play as well. So I fancy them here a little bit.
You of course were playing with Finbar McGuigan. How did that combination come to be?
All I can say is he's good. He's going to be really good. He's good now. Here's a good bowl from John Carruthers.
Why do you say that? What do you think he's got that maybe some others might not?
Oh, temperament. He's got a bit of heart, and he can play, but he's got those other qualities and characteristics that you need to go to the next level. So I'm really looking forward to watching him over the next few years.
So you were really keen to play with someone like that, emerging player?
Well, the way it worked out. So I was going to be playing with Ryan Burnett because we played together last year, and of course they can't get over from Oz. And Mike Carroll, Sauce, he played with Finbar last year, and they got to the quarter-final as well. So Sauce doesn't like playing up here for some reason. So left Finbar and me with somebody looking for someone. So it worked out really well, and he just went great. The whole 5-6 games we played, really, really good.
Yeah, he's been in quite some form, winning more centre titles in Wellington. Obviously won bowls 3-5 with the Stokes Valley Vipers. Didn't lose a game. In fact, all the games he played, they won.
Yep.
It's no coincidence. So certainly a player not just of the future, but really of the present, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
well and truly arrived.
Yeah.
You'd think knocking on the door, and next thing is a national title.
Yeah, well, that's what I was hoping I was going to be able to do with him, but that's the way. You know, he probably should have skipped, to be fair. He was going good, so I should have just led and thrown them, kept him out of his way.
He weren't the only high-profile combination to go out yesterday. There was a bit of carnage yesterday. Pretty much everyone who I suppose we expected here on paper to make it to the last 8 went out.
Yeah, but I actually made the comment yesterday afternoon, right at the end of the day. I said, I reckon this is really, really good for the game. To have 4 teams that, and you got Jamie and Lance, but Lance hasn't won one. So to have a whole lot of combinations who've never won a national title playing in the last 8 and now the last 4, I reckon it's great for the game. And Dan Dixon's just drawn the shot there, so a nice wee bowl. Well, it looks like he's drawn the shot.
Yeah, Nicholas Thomsett, a young player as well, still very much emerging. I think made the semi-finals of the singles last year down in Christchurch.
Yeah, he did, and that's what I mean. I mean, it's good to see, and I think it's good for the game that you're getting these new people coming through and starting to perform. And I just think it can only be great for the game rather than having the Lawsons and the McElroys always winning these things. So it's great.
Yeah, Dickerson, who's skipping this combination with Thomsett having just drawn the shot, looking to add another to the count.
It's well pointed, just
Yeah.
not sure about his weight.
Perhaps a bit too much, is it? He's going to find a good home just in behind the head.
Yeah, he's only just out of it if he is out of it, so good effort.
Very fine bowl. You'll obviously be lining up in the singles tomorrow. You're looking forward to getting back out there?
Yes. Back out at Howick, and I have to say, the greens are magnificent. Good bowl from Mike Bradshaw there. He's just turned one of his own bowls up for the shot, I think. Yeah, the greens are magnificent. The club's a really, really good club. Yeah, they've got a great group of volunteers and club members that are catering to the players every woman needs. So no, I'm looking forward to it.
You don't have any problem playing in Auckland then, like Mike Carroll and maybe a few others do?
I said that tongue in cheek, but
I know there is a sentiment though. A lot of players do not think they fare that well up here.
Yeah.
So now, if they been a few times, don't bother.
yeah, well, look, I think all the good players are here, which is what you want. Look, I haven't played on a bad green yet. I've only played on 2, so to be fair, because we were on Howick for the second day of section play for the pairs, and then again yesterday for the post section. And we played at Papatoe on the first day, and that was okay. You know, it was. You got to get a draw line to the centre line each game, each rink we played on. So no complaints so far. Probably when I lose, I'll probably moan, but no, it's to be fair, it's been okay.
So we'll see here how he plays this, whether it was another drawn shot, that last bowl from Bradshaw got the shot or not.
He's just cut his line.
Yeah, he's just under the line. Yeah, the weight was right on the money, wasn't it? Pretty much to get the shot. Not quite the line he had previously. So I think Bradshaw's holding here.
Yeah.
That's the 4th of the 18 ends.
Oh, that ball just fell down. So John Carruthers is going to have a wee look at it. I think he's happy he's still got one.
Bradshaw making the slow walk back to the mat. Certainly this game will be played at a slightly different pace to the earlier one. We had pretty much, they were racing through it. It was bowls 3-5. I thought the shot clock was on. Jamie Hill and Lance Pascoe and obviously the 2 Craigs, Tinker and Merrillees, were not wasting any time. I think there was probably only 2 mid-green conferences, very few inspections of the head. It'll be different with this game.
Mike's just a bit tentative there.
But they are on the board by the looks of things, because John Carruthers has picked up the jack in the mat. So a Royal Oak combination of Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers. Pick up there first. I think it was just the one. Wait for confirmation on the board. But they have registered their first point. Of course, 18-end contest for a place in the final. The other matchup between Pat Houlihan and Lance Pascoe.
2-1.
Yeah, it looks to be.
3.
So Pascoe, your eyes are still very good, Kearney. It's good to know.
Eat my carrots every day.
It's the way. Lance Pascoe and JV Hill leading Pat Houlihan and Howard O'Donnell 2-1 after 3. That's assuming that they've got them on the board as we would expect to have them. So, choosing this length has the mat up somewhat and the jack almost all the way back to the 2 metre mark. Carruthers comes up short with his first. Kevin and I were mentioning it, actually, how many bowls 3-5 players from the Sky Sport competition have actually made it deep over the first couple of days.
Yep.
Do you think it does help, you know, given where this falls in the season? They've had all that competitive kind of bowls, or is it anything, or is it just a coincidence?
I think it's more about, you're right, but I think it's more about you've got a lot of really good players playing in the Bowl 3-5 now,
yeah.
Whereas in the first year I wouldn't have said that. But now with some of the combinations, some of the teams, you've got the up-and-comers as well as the established players like Lawson and Pascoe and Mandy Boyd. You've got the young fellas and young ladies coming through. So I think it's more about the Bowls 3-5 competition is a lot stronger now.
Yes.
And, you know, they're good players, so you'd expect some of them to get through to the later stages of the Nationals.
Yeah, Carruthers and Bradshaw, 2 of those. Carruthers, who represented the Royal Oak Rockets season 2. Bradshaw in the most recent season, which wasn't a good season for the Rockets as they were relegated. Have a chance to get back though in Bowls 3-5 on Sky Sport through the national tournament. Have you played any 3-5 at all?
We're playing in Dunedin, so we've got a local club competition.
Brilliant.
So with the view to, you know, making whoever wins the Dunedin one goes through to wherever they go through.
Of course, yeah.
So
Well, make it through the top 10, I think it is, and then 2 of those 10 make it through to the...
yeah. So it's been a bit of fun actually. We play on Monday nights.
Okay.
But it's rained 2 or 3 of them, so we've only played 3 games so far, but that's okay. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you like the mixed format and the shot clock and all that, and the power plays and all that kind of stuff?
Well, we don't have a shot clock.
No, you wouldn't probably have a shot clock, would you?
But
asking a bit too much.
We have the power plays. And look, it's fun. And I'm playing with Keanu Darby.
Oh, yes.
And his partner Brooke Craik. And we've managed to lose the first set in every game we played so far, and won the second set and the tiebreaker. So we've got no idea at the start how to play, but it's a lot of fun. And look, I think it's a great game for introducing players into the game.
Oh, it certainly is. Especially those who, you know, younger people who just don't have the time to give 3 hours on a weekend. You can just go to the club for an hour and get a game of Bowls 3-5 done and dusted.
Yeah. And Mike Bradshaw appears to be on a really good line here. Nick Thompson's got 1 on a lock. Just didn't quite finish, but it may be enough for the shot.
It falls in. That should be the shot.
Possibly was the shot.
They're not giving much away. Dickerson with a little slap of the thigh, I think, mark of appreciation to his rival skipper Mike Bradshaw.
Well, Nick's given Dan some reasonable position here, so he won't be afraid of it. I think he'll draw up onto that bowl. Yep, he's shaping to play the backhand, so...
I believe there's a bit of a camp for national squad members after
this. Saturday, Sunday.
Must be looking forward to getting back with everyone that you haven't seen for quite a while.
It is good. It's a really good environment. Here's a good-looking bowl from Dan if he just going to go.
It holds up.
He's been unlucky there.
Very unfortunate as it gets outside of the jack and knocks it closer towards the previous bowl of Mike Bradshaw. who's certainly holding shot if there's any doubt about it before.
It's a very good bowl from Dan there, just a bit stiff. Bradshaw's well pointed again. Oh, he's played 2 bombs. Oh, he's just come
It's
up
going
short.
to, yeah, it's going to fall out, so that won't change the count. Just the one, the Royal Oak combination. Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers. Dan Dickerson, though, was not far away with his previous, but unlucky really. He was right in the area, just got the outside of the jack rather than getting it flush.
Can't see for Nick. Yeah, this is pointed. Oh, he's just going to go the other
Yeah,
side.
just did he
Shot.
get a strong enough touch?
He's
on
definitely
it?
got the shot.
Yeah, applauded by his partner and Tomset.
Might even be 2. Just depends how far back it went.
And it looked like Bradshaw played with a bit of extra reaching weight out of the hand, although is it going to actually make it there? No, it's not going to. Looked to be a bit quicker on the mat, but that's so, yeah, I think Tomset's looking at that, whether it is a second for
I
he and
think he'll
Dickerson.
Definitely. Dan Dickerson.
He and Dickerson.
Oh, I thought you said Ian. That's his uncle.
I think it was 40 years to the day. Supposedly they won at Only Hunger, the national title.
Yes, so, and Kevin, being smart before, I did actually play a lot of bowls with both Ian and Phil Dickerson. Phil Dickerson's here too, so supporting Dan, which is good to see. Haven't seen him for a while. They were both very, well, obviously Ian Dickerson, we all know, was a great player,
Yeah.
but Phil was a very, very good player as well. So Dan's obviously inherited the genes and is playing well.
Yeah, because when you were coming through, so many good players, wasn't there, out of the Otago region?
Yeah, there were, and I've often talked about it with people. So when we were getting the measure out for the second one, I think,
Yeah.
when there was a guy called Ross Brown who was a really, really good player as well, same vintage as me, and we were trying to break into the Dunedin Intercentre Sevens team, just one.
Yeah, just the one to Dickerson and Tomset. 6-1 they now lead.
And that was the end of the 1980s, early 90s when we were sort of starting to come through, and Dunedin had 6 players that had played for New Zealand in the 80s.
Wow.
So the 2 McConnell brothers, Ian Dickerson, Ken Walker, Kevin Darling, Terry Scott. So it was a really good place to be to learn how to play the game. And unfortunately, there haven't been too many since then. It's been some, but not too many. Not like the good old days. So, but there are some good young fellas coming through down there, which is good to see. So they just need to head down, bum up, and work hard.
Yeah, that's always been a bit of a passion of yours, isn't it? Helping out and mentoring those younger players.
Only the ones that listen. Not many listen to the grumpy old fella.
But it is something you're interested in.
Oh,
isn't
no,
it?
very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. Look, the game's been good to me, so if you can do something to help, whatever that might be, then that's got to be good, I think.
No, absolutely. I'm sure it's very much welcomed by all of those, being able to just tap into some of your experiences over the years.
I have to say, we've talked about him, but Finbar was someone who really did ears and eyes wide open when we were playing together, which was great. So hopefully he's got some takeaways from the other week he can put to good use.
And obviously on the other side of the game, Caitlin Inch is someone that you've had a lot to do with. She's obviously going very well. Obviously disappointing she couldn't get back here, given how the situation is in the world at the moment. But
but there again, like, yes, I have given her a bit of a hand. Another good bowl from John Carruthers there. But it's her work ethic.
Of course.
And so as they say, you can take a horse to water, you can't make it drink. And you know, Caitlin, Morris Symes worked with Caitlin for a while too before me. So, and to be fair to her, she's really listened and taken what's good for her out of that, and she's doing really, really well. So depending on, you know, what the future holds. I mean, she's starting a new course at uni over there in paramedicine, so you never know how long people are going to be involved and whether career and family life takes over. But for the next 2 or 3 years anyway, I would anticipate she will just continue to improve and become one of the best players in the world. Certainly got the talent.
Yeah, and so you think the obvious move would be that she plays in the singles then?
Far be it from me to try and pick a New Zealand team.
Well, given you're not a selector.
I think that's the obvious solution. You know, you've got Taylor Bruce who's tidy in the singles. But the challenge is they've got to find a skip if that's what they do with Caitlin.
Convince Mandy Boyd to return.
Well, again, that's the obvious solution.
Not so obvious an answer though.
Well, it's down to Mandy really.
Exactly
right. What she wants to do, and she's
you know, it's a big commitment, obviously.
Yeah, and she's got a young family, you know, and here's a good-looking bowl from Dan here.
If it holds up,
oh, he's just missed.
Maybe a roll too many.
Yeah.
Great effort.
And I think the girls would love Mandy to come back too. I think, you know, your Val Smiths and your Selena Smith, Selena Smith now, isn't it? You know, all of those girls, not just the two I mentioned, really value the way Mandy can play, and having somebody with that experience skipping the girls would, I think, be not only good for New Zealand but good for those younger players, the Taylors and the Selenas.
Well, she's a natural skip, isn't she?
Yep.
And we even saw that playing the singles yesterday. She's so confident playing those attacking shots. Often thinks those were the first way to play rather than just a simple draw.
And I talked to her about her last bowl. Well, she raised it after the game. And the thing I like about Mandy is she makes good decisions. That was the only thing she genuinely could do.
Well, we mentioned it in commentary as well. They didn't have any other option, and she was so close to executing it as well.
One revolution, and she's got second shot.
Yeah.
So, and still alive.
Correct.
So the decision making and the execution generally is pretty spot on. Well, Bradshaw looks... is he...
He's a couple more rolls, maybe.
He might. That'll be close.
I saw a clap of the hands from John Carruthers. Not sure if that was in celebration or almost there.
Yeah, it might be.
Dan Dickinson's going to have a little look where he comes halfway down. That sees enough of the head.
The thing is, his two bowls are finished basically on the centre line, so he's just over and just short. So he's just back yourself, play down the same line, and draw the shot. Sounds easy from here, doesn't it?
Always is.
He looks as though he's playing with a bit of weight here. Oh no. Well, he's got it down a good line again.
It's good to know I'm not the only one fooled by players' deliveries. And
he's just too quick.
Yeah, too much on that one. It's not going to change the situation.
Well, Bradshaw only needs about 3 inches, I think. Just turn his bowl or just slip inside it.
I'll stick on that forehand side.
Looks to be a bit wider, isn't he?
Does look wider than the previous. He's going to have to come inside that wide bowl and gets a touch on it. Might have been interesting if it got inside that.
It is 3.
So,
I think.
Yeah, I think I saw the 3 signal by Nicholas Tomset. So, has been going up on the board as well. So 3 for Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers.
And 4-2 to Lance and Jamie in the other game, by the looks of it. We think Lance is on the bottom of the board. So.
Yeah, he should. Yeah, certainly should be on the bottom of the board. So yeah, confirming 6-4 after 6 now of the 18 ends, a third of the way through the contest. You're going to have a bit of a practice this afternoon, or
no?
No. You've done all the practice you need to do before we get underway.
Yes.
Yeah. What is your section like in the singles?
Oh, well, for me it's quite a hard case because my daughter Kate has recently got engaged to a fella called Matt Rees-Gibbs, and lovely young fella, and his parents are brilliant people. Well, I'm playing his dad, and
That's outstanding. That's great.
Yeah, I think both of us are probably a little disappointed that we have to play each other, but it should make for a bit of banter.
Oh, it makes it easy for the family, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, they have to be split different venues or different greens. They can just watch the one rink. Fantastic.
So we're playing at Howick on the sea green, and look, the greens are great, so I'm really looking forward to it actually.
And hopefully this weather continues as well. A bit of a change from the first couple of days.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to, isn't it? It's supposed to be nice.
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I believe so. Certainly for tomorrow night, it's supposed to be nice. Yeah, that must have been a bit of fun the first couple of days.
Oh, look, as I say, we're playing at Papatoe, and just everyone got on the squeegees. We had an early lunch because it rained just around, almost 11, 12, and green went underwater. And we got out and we played a full game without any further rain. And then we started the third game. We played 3 ends, and it been like it was torrential, so there was never any chance of us getting back out. But that's okay. We got 2 of the 3 out, and I think some greens got 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, some did. And that's just the amazing thing about Auckland. You can have flooded greens a couple of kilometres away and no problem elsewhere.
Keith was playing at Point Chev on the second day. This is the son-in-law's father. And he sent me a photo after the first game, and the green was completely underwater, and we were sunbathing at Howick. Like, it never looked like raining out there. So it just shows you, right, you can be a couple of K away from somewhere and you've got nothing.
Yeah, there's beauty, or the agony really, of some of the Auckland weather.
Now, this is a classic case of Nick Thomsett battling for his line and completely losing his weight as a result of it. So he's played good line for most of the game when the jack's been a bit further up. Now they changed the length and he couldn't get a line to it. So he's got 3 bowls, not very close to be fair, and all over the shop.
Yeah, you find that happens when players are searching for the other, they lose what had been working for them.
Yep, absolutely.
Especially on those who maybe don't quite have the years of experience, maybe.
I think it's everyone.
Yeah.
If you're struggling for your line, your weight goes because you're so worried about getting down the right line, you're not actually thinking too much about the weight. So there's a very, very good bowl from
Mike Bradshaw.
Mike Bradshaw there. It's given Dan something to think about because I think he's 3 down. I think that bowl jack level.
I think so too. Yeah.
Is another shot. So he's now not. He's got a horrible head to play to.
Good crowd in attendance here at Carlton Cornwall. Second day of finals of the Summerset National Singles and Pairs. The men's pairs semi-final unfolding in front of us.
Well, that's not a bad line. It depends on his weight now.
Yeah, just going to slide past the head, so he needs to bring back that weight a bit. He's playing with, trying to attack the head. Need to pull back a tiny bit. Wasn't far away.
Bradshaw's trying to cover those 2 bowls there, but he's actually drawn another one, so it's actually okay, because Dan's got to play a bomb to get out of this. And if he's quick again, I don't like his chances with his last one. Oh, he's adjusted it pretty well, I think.
Yeah, he's going to be there or thereabouts. Has he got enough on this one?
That's a very good bowl, regardless of whether he's 2 down or not. That's...
Oh, couldn't have done much better than that, could he?
No.
Really. A very tough position. And like you said, make the adjustment from his first. He had just a bit too much weight.
So 3 great bowls from Mike Bradshaw there. He's just given a little bit of cover to those 2 bowls, that one of Nick's and Dan's first one, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of shot he gets in play. He can afford to play off the yard here, I think.
I think Nicholas Tomset indicated just 1 down.
Oh, okay.
I think, slightly obscured by his body, to a skip Dan Dickerson. Obviously it's quite hard from our position sometimes, the camera angles, to tell exactly.
Yeah, the way Nick reacted there, I think
Yep.
it is only 1. Yep. He
Yeah,
didn't
just
try
the 1.
too hard there. What could have been a disaster turned into 1 down, so I think...
Yeah, they'll certainly take that, won't they?
Yeah.
So 1 more to Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers. So 6-5 it is now to Dan Dickerson and Nicholas Tomset. Now after 7 of the 18 ends.
And 4-3 in the other game. So they're scoring at a rate of knots, aren't they? 4-3 after 6. So it obviously is a good tight game.
Yeah, it must be. That's the game. It's Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill, who we saw earlier today, run away with it against Craig Merrilees and Craig Tinker. They're in action now against Pat Houlihan and Howard O'Donnell. Yeah, played 1 fewer end. They're currently playing the 7th end. We're now about to play the 8th. How long did you sign up for in this commentary stint here? Did Kevin just...
Well, he just said 20 minutes, but
Yeah.
you know what Kevin's like.
Well, that's probably...
Yeah, but the pay's good, so...
It is? Yeah, I thought it would be. Good that Kevin's looking after you.
John there's weight's very good, just missed his line, so interesting to see him make a correction.
Caught the tail end of their quarter-final against Aidan Takarua and Richard Hocking. And certainly John Carruthers led very well against Richard Hocking, who made the final, of course, with Andrew Kelly last year.
Yep. Look, they're a couple of old campaigners, these two, and they'll just keep plugging away. Nothing will faze them.
Vast experience in Auckland, both of them.
Yeah. And used to playing on greens where it doesn't necessarily do what you think it's going to do. So, and that way he's tight again, and that won't worry them. They'll just keep throwing them down, and eventually one will get close. So he's got perfect weight again, and again he's fraction narrow.
It's funny, it looked a lot narrower than that actually. It looked like it was going to go well under. Tomset just needs to pull back a bit of the weight, correct the green slightly. It's been a better line here.
Yeah, he's played it well. It's a good correction, that.
Applauded by his skip, Dan Dickerson. How has it been for you and the Blackjacks coping with, obviously, World Championship postponement and not having played together for a long time? Has it been difficult, or how have you found the way to deal with it all?
Oh, it is what it is. I mean, obviously we'd love to have played in June last year at World Champs, but it wasn't to be, so it is what it is. I mean, you can't worry about it. I mean, it will happen if it happens. I mean, I would doubt very much whether it's going to happen in September this year. I mean, I just don't think, particularly for the Northern Hemisphere, and I see there's this new strain that they're really worried about in Britain at the moment. So how are the Scots and the English and the Irish and the Welsh going to get here? And then you've got a couple of Spanish players, and Guernsey and Jersey. Like, I just don't see them all being able to get here, which, unless this vaccine is proven to work, but that needs to happen by June at the latest, I would have thought. And then maybe if everyone gets vaccinated and cleared, then they could come. But then you've got some of the South African countries, like South Africa and Zimbabwe, and I don't know what the situation's like down there. So the chances of it coming off are, I would have thought, pretty slim, which is a shame. And certainly for old fellas like me, you sort of think, because there's only so many bowls left, so you don't want to wait too long. But look, it is what it is. I've had a good run. I've been very privileged to have played for the amount of time that I have, so I won't be grumpy if it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And as Ali said the other day when I was speaking to Ali by messenger, he said it's really good waking up every morning still for World Fours champion. And I'd never thought about it like that, but here's a good bowl from Dan. Very well played.
The longest reigning World Fours champion.
Exactly.
5 years and counting.
Yep. Could go into 6. Oh, Mr. Hickman's obviously had his feed for lunch and is well rested, had a snooze, and he's back.
Well, I think you've done well and truly your 20 minutes, plus another 10 or so.
Oh, at least, yeah. Mr. Bradshaw's close here.
But Kevin's paying you by the minute though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So keep you to the end of this end, and then Kevin can return to the hot seat. Thank you very much for your contributions though, Kearney. It's always a privilege.
It's always a pleasure to work with nice people. That's why we kicked Kevin out.
Yeah. They've come back well here, the Bradshaw-Carruthers combination.
Dan's looks as though he's afraid. He's just afraid of turning that bowl up of Mike Bradshaw's. So he's a bit tentative there because I think they're holding 2. 2's not bad shooting at this stage.
Haven't been too many big numbers in either semi-final so far.
I think we might see a bit of aggression here. He has got a couple of thirds, so...
And right, here it comes, the drive.
He's got the jack.
He's got the jack. And I think the way that went out, that was killed.
Yeah, John Carruthers is...
Yeah, certainly spread out the side, so we'll be replaying that. We'll say goodbye to Mike Kernahan. Mike Kernahan, Blackjack International, multiple national champion. Great to have his expertise in commentary of this men's pairs semi-final between Dan Dickerson and Nicholas Thomsett up against Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers, as that end was killed by Mike Bradshaw. As Dickerson and Thomsett were holding a couple of shots, and he executed that well. And we bring back a well-rested Kevin Hickland. I hope you have a chance to get some food in the wonderful catering here at Carlton Cornwall, Kevin.
Very nice ham and tomato sandwich, and some ginger beer, and a talk with Gary Lawson.
I'm sure he had just as many interesting thoughts as Mike Kernahan would have had to share with us.
Yeah, they'd have similar thoughts, really, over the subjects, the topics that we were talking about. So, yeah, it's interesting times.
So I'm going to replay this end, the 8th of 18. And Dickerson and Thomsett holding a slender 6-5 advantage over Bradshaw and Carruthers. It is very tight in the other semi-final as well. Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill, leading Pat Houlihan and Howard O'Donnell. In fact, it's now 4-all. 4-all after 7 of the 18 ends there.
Interesting, Brenton, just saying that 7 ends, it would appear that the game speed has slowed down a wee bit. And from what we saw this morning with Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill, who were running around 2 ends in front of the other 3 rinks, and now everything's slowed up, semi-final time, and tighter game, so things slow down a wee bit.
Yeah, and given that they played just the 16 ends as well in their match, given that they had such a big lead, they ended up finishing almost an hour before
Correct.
the likes of Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers, and also Dan Dickerson and Nicholas Tomset. So they had quite a break before their semi-final in comparison to the 2 pairings we have here.
As we see, John Carruthers obviously short, and he is Mike Bradshaw trying to get the body language, get that, put some more weight into it. Nicholas Tomset, he was very short with his first bolt as well, and I don't want to be hard on them, but it's not the conditions, because we're just seeing Tomset here draw a very good shot just in behind the head. Greens are in great condition, running well, no wind. So it's a
great correction though that by Tomset, who was not just short but also didn't get his line right either, but made the adjustment. The line's perfect, right and behind the jack, good place to be.
So here we see John Carruthers trying to get past his own short bowl. In fact, he's going to run directly into it and promote it in towards the head. Actually came quite a distance up the green, actually.
Yeah, quite a solid contact.
So watching the hand signals at Nicholas Tomset. Am I going to run into my own bowl? Am I going to get past it? He runs into that short bowl.
Oh, they both run into their own bowl with their third. Unfortunately for Tomset, he doesn't quite get the benefit that John Carruthers got. He promoted his first bowl.
Well, it would appear, Brendan, that both skips are only going to be playing one hand, because there's no way now that they can play. There's 3 short bowls in front.
Oh, Tomset has freed it up, hasn't he, on that side with his previous bowl, and he has certainly blocked up on the forehand side for Mike Bradshaw.
Bradshaw now in the backhand, the Royal Oak player, very, very competitive player, won a number of titles in Auckland. This looks as though it's going to finish right close to the jack, and it is. Draws just in front of the jack. It's a superb bowl. The Johnny Carruthers.
Hat tip.
The hat tip, the Panama. Looks very much like the Sicilian Panama, the Godfather Panama. So Dan Dickerson now, only option he's really got is to endeavour to draw inside. That very good bowl played by Mike Bradshaw. On this, the 9th end. 8th end is the replay.
Yeah, it's a replayed 8th end.
Very much on the tight side. Yeah, the one thing from Michael Bradshaw here, he'd certainly like to draw another shot, but won't want to give a shoulder out on the jack level position, which Dan Dickerson can use to come off. Bradshaw again's got the bowl out on that wider line. John Carruthers is interested in this. Has it got the weight to come all the way? Yes, it has. Another good bowl from Michael Bradshaw. Of course, they sit in a straight line, so it's only a 1-bowl target. So all it can really do is endeavour to get that draw. So Dan Dickerson certainly under the line again. It's coming towards this shot bowl. Is it going to sit inside it? Yes, he has. What a magnificent bowl. Got a touch on the jack. Moved it over, but that was a superb shot. Now holding one Brendan. It looks as though it was going to cut under the line, but just got to that shot bowl.
Oh, wonderfully done. Bradshaw had played a couple of goodies, and the response from Dickerson was much needed. Now what can Bradshaw do with his last? Looks to be in the area.
It's on a good line to the jack. He's going to get past that front bowl. No, runs into it. Falls over. Still be 1 to Dan Dickerson. Don't think he'll be trying too hard here.
He's going to have a little look at the situation. Obviously, Jack's pretty much obscured now from the mat. So he knows he's holding the shot with his previous bowl. But what should he play with his last?
Might be one of those heads, in fact, Brendan, where
You just take the one?
one's pretty good from where it was looking before. 2 down.
More harm could be done than good, couldn't it?
Well,
if you try and get a second.
Touch the blue bowl, for example, get 1 turn on that blue bowl. You can, in fact, you could go 2 down because that blue bowl could just roll onto the jack. So no need for any heroics, I don't think, here after Dan Dickerson played that magnificent second bowl. Well, he's got it out on that wider, safe line. And that's
Not going to come back enough, so that's not going to change the count. So Dickerson and Summerset and another. They now lead Bradshaw and Carruthers 7-5. 7-5 after 8 of the 18 ends. Men's pairs semi-final action here at Carlton Cornwall in Auckland. Second day of finals of the Summerset National Singles and Pairs. Brenton Vanessaroy alongside Kevin Hickland, as we will be for the final from around 2:30 this afternoon. One of these two sides taking on the winner of the other semi-final between Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill, and Pat Houlihan and Howard O'Donnell.
So Jack's been delivered by Nicholas Tomset just outside under the 2 metre mark. So it's a pretty, the mat is right back on the 2 metre mark. So 3 3/4 lengths head. Just bowler Nicholas Tomset breaks towards the centre line now. Going to pull up, still going to be a metre short.
Yeah, you could tell with the way he acted straight after delivering that, sort of urging it on with his hand, knew that he was probably a metre or so short. A decent line, just needs to add a touch more weight.
So Johnny Carruthers, the former tug master at Ports of Auckland. Bowl just goes by towards the 2 metre mark. Tomset, who'll be endeavouring on the backhand just to beat his first bowl by a metre. He does, he'll be very close to the jack line, and that looks exactly what he's going to do. It just breaks towards the centre line and the jack now, and sits right behind the jack. Well played second bowl there from the Bay of Plenty lead.
Yeah, certainly likes playing to that part of the green with the jack further down, almost at that 2 metre mark. Previous time playing this way, shorter length in, the jack was near the top of the screen, and he really struggled with both his weight and his line, but made a good adjustment.
So Johnny Carruthers coming up a metre short. Doesn't affect Nicholas Tomset. He can still come out around those bowls and draw behind the head and put them in a good position on this, the 9th end. And there's another good bowl from Nick Tomset. Only does create a bit of a target. And happy birthday today to Shannon McElroy, the world singles champion, turns 34 today. See that real flick on the delivery there of John Carruthers, trying to get up to those shot bowls. And you see the body language from Mike Bradshaw. Short and Right, the Great Wall of China up there now, trying to get to those bowls.
Yeah, not happy. Bradshaw, they didn't even look at each other as they crossed over.
It was a silent crossing.
John Carruthers and Mike Bradshaw. We would have played a lot of bowls together and against each other.
They certainly have over the years.
Now at the Royal Oak Club.
So Dan Dickinson on his backhand, playing away from the clubhouse. Up towards the Alexandra Park end, and this looks a good bowl too as it gets all the way down towards the centre line, and that'll count as well. And it's certainly cutting off the from what Michael Bradshaw will be able to see from the map, whether there's enough on the angle for an attacking shot through that front port there. Very fine line, but it's the head at this stage is very well set up for the Bay of Plenty composite combination, leading 7-5.
Yeah, the smarter move might be just to try and get a second or a third,
Absolutely.
isn't it, really? Just with the draw. You've got to be
shot.
absolutely perfect with the weighted bowl. Looks a bit narrow.
That should disappear under the line, but is it going to get that port that we were talking about, Brendan? No, Brendan. Well, there's no port now. There's nothing there now. So really, it's a second shot head now for Michael Bradshaw and John Carruthers on that drawing up to those bowls. And we'll
For Dan Dickinson, he just wants to continue to add to this head now. It's pretty well protected, and force Mike Bradshaw to come up with a really good bowl just to get second shot.
It's a great scoring head for them. It's a great setup for them. Now, whether that makes no difference. It's 4, and it's a second shot draw. That's for sure for Michael Bradshaw under a lot of pressure here on this, the 9th end.
Looks a better line.
Looks a better line, but is it going to
good
run?
enough?
Is it
No,
going to
it's
run
not.
into the wall? No.
Wall just gets strengthened.
It's very big wall, and it's a non-attacking head because of that big wall. So Dan Dickinson now, he'll endeavour to try and draw another counter, make 5 of it. This could be a big turning point in the game.
These are the ends you dream of, aren't they, really?
Absolutely.
Let's continue to try and add another one to the count.
As long as he sits on the wider side of the head, may not count, just depends if it falls in and how far away that front one is.
Yeah, might still count.
Definitely 4.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Bradshaw's come and had a closer look. It did fall in as well. Dickinson bowl.
What Bradshaw's looking at, you'll see a blue bowl in the nest there, and Carruthers is wanting a second shot. Mike Bradshaw's looking at, he got down on his haunches and looked at that drive into that blue bowl in the middle, which may well get right through to the jack.
Oh, you need a bit of luck though, don't you? Oh, a lot of it.
A lot of it.
I think Carruthers is going the higher percentage play, I think.
Especially if that last bowl counts as well, because, he's got
A second or a third would not be a bad result here.
a good result.
A second would be a fantastic result.
And back to the mat as Mike Bradshaw. And looks like the draw that we spoke about. Hello, something's happened. Someone moved, something went amiss, pulled away off the mat. Now he
I
goes
don't know
back.
if that was people, I think maybe people applauding on the rink, a couple away from Bradshaw, and again, so twice now, he's pulled out, taking his time as is right. Has to be composed on the mat, a bit of a shake of the head, he's not too happy, Mike Bradshaw.
It's not happy. Kemper's down on the mat at present.
He knows how important this bowl is, and he is just going with the draw.
Trying to get that second shot, Brendan. And this is a better line. This is a far better line. How's this for a bowl? How's this for a bowl?
Oh, look at that. Well, we said a second or a third would have been a great result. How about the shot itself? What a bowl that is from Mike Bradshaw. Lands on the shot bowl, and Dickinson potentially holding 5, comes away with nothing as Bradshaw steals it. Took his time on the mat, twice pulled himself away after a bit of disturbance alongside, and Bradshaw and Carruthers pick up another shot. 7-6 now the score. Dickinson and Thomset leading Bradshaw and Carruthers.
That was a big end, that, because that was virtually the near perfect setup, and the perfect bowl had to be played with the right weight and right line, and he got in there without touching anything, got right to the shot bowl, sat on it, and full marks to Mike Bradshaw. He was certainly deliberate about that shot, as you said, Brendan. He stood back from the mat on 2 occasions, but on the draw was a magnificent bowl.
So we're halfway through this men's pairs semi-final and just one shot in it. 7-6 score now. Dan Dickinson and Nicholas Thomset leading Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers, and it is 6 apiece after 9 ends in the other men's pairs semi-final. It's the meeting between Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill, and Pat Houlihan and Howard O'Donnell. So a very tight contest there too.
John Carruthers sitting just lower the jack, about half a metre. Nicholas Thomset with his first bowl just ran into that bowl, and the big call now really is to John Carruthers from Mike Bradshaw. Well, mate, I got you out of that one. Now it's your turn to take a lap.
Well, we saw how they didn't even talk as they crossed paths. Bradshaw was not happy with the work of his lead, and it was really on a plate for Dan Dickinson, and it required Mike Bradshaw to play a bomb, and he played the bomb.
You marked that one down on the 9th end. That was certainly
a huge moment. Instead of being what potentially could have been 12-5 down, it's now to 7-6. Massive difference.
As we see Nicholas Thomset come under the line and just get a touch, move the jack back past the 2 metre mark, hold shot, sitting just in front of the jack. John Carruthers now with his 3rd bowl. Very tight encounter. Could have, as you're right, Brendan, we could have had a decent break after that end.
Yeah, it would have been a completely different game from here on in. And it's one shot between these two. Every shot so important now.
So Nicholas Thomset and Dan Dickinson holding the shot, but this is going to be well under the centre line. This bowl of Nicholas Thomset, it's going to, in fact, we're just about go dead on the other side of the rink on the draw, because it was certainly well outside the centre line.
Real mixed bag there from Nicholas Thomset. Dragged the jack back with his 2nd. Bit short and over green with his 1st, and then well under green with his 3rd.
I also see sitting here today is one of the legends of the bowls commentary, Ian Birch at the bowls, who is here today this afternoon watching, just lives up the road here, in fact, at Epsom. And of course the 1988 World Bowls at Henderson. Ian Birch was certainly known as the voice of bowls, as he did for a number of years, both for TV1, him and the late great Doug Armstrong, and Ian Birch, of course, now part of the Bowls New Zealand Hall of Fame for his involvement in the sport, and the patron of Auckland Bowls. And great to see Ian Birch at the bowls, sitting in the sunshine today at the Carlton Cornwall Club, taking in these final stages of the Summerset men's pairs.
Yeah, good to see the crowd has really built, hasn't it? Given that there are now just 2 games on here and just 1 game to come, that being the men's pairs final. There's no section play in the women's pairs here. That's at a number of other clubs across the Auckland and North Harbour centres, but not at the host club today.
So Dan Dickinson trying to add to the head, get underneath the draw line to get down to where that jack is, which has been moved off the centre line. Mike Brett low again. Something seems to be going amiss for Mike Bradshaw, doesn't there?
He's looking at the other rink. So I don't know if it was some talk from the other rink, which has put him off, but the amount of tournament play he would have played with, players right alongside you, other rinks. There's obviously 2 rinks away is the other semi-final, so
Absolutely.
It's not right alongside him.
I can assure you Michael's played enough tournaments with enough very rowdy tournaments that these sorts of things, you just sort of dismiss.
He's shaking his head and blaming his
well,
concentration from being broken there.
I prefer to say nothing.
Yeah, but I suppose not being happy is not affecting the way he's playing, because
No,
he wasn't happy the previous end and played an absolute stunner.
So Dan Dickinson endeavouring to try and improve on that line down towards the jack to get inside the John Carruthers blue bowl. Is not going to do so, and having a look is Carruthers to see how many seconds that they have got to that shot bowl, and whether Mike Bradshaw can play with searching weight under the head to try and get to the Nicholas Thomset bowl, which is a shot. Be a hard shot to play. He'd have to play the. He's certainly playing with weight to either get to the jack or the bowl, or get to either of these and knock it out. Got to the jack, and that I think will stay alive, and his blue bowl went with it. I see hands in the air again, so I don't know.
He's got a bit of fortune there, really. Came off that wide bowl.
It could be 3.
And trailed straight to the jack. Yeah, was he sort of conceding he was a bit lucky there, or
Don't know.
because the results turned out well?
Well, the plant was onto that front bowl to get rid of the what was the shot bowl, and it just so happened that it went onto the jack, and those things can happen when you're in the area. As you see, this bowler, Dan Dickinson's trying to hold on to the ditch. Is it going to? Yes, it is. And only now the one down. That was a great save from Dan Dickinson, drawing right to the ditch board. And we're all locked up at 7-all after 10 of 18 ends.
Yeah, very well played from Dan Dickinson. Needed. Looked like Bradshaw and Carruthers were holding 3 there after able to trail the jack was Bradshaw after a bit of assistance off a wide bowl. And then Dickinson, the last bowl of the end, drawing to the ditch, and very well done. The best he could have hoped for. But it does mean we're all tied up, 7 apiece.
Well, the last 2 ends we've literally seen a 6-shot turnaround from the last bowl of Mike Bradshaw on 2 ends. 1 down there, 4 or 5 down the previous end, and scored then on both ends.
Yeah, you can see he's been playing expertly well, and one of the reasons why they have made it this far through to the semi-finals. They may have been a surprise quarter-finalist for some. They would have been probably the underdogs against Aidan Takarua and Richard Hocking, the 2 young guns who had come through a very difficult section. They'd beaten the defending champions, Ray Martin and Robbie Bennett, in the round of 16 had Takarua and Hocking.
They certainly came through the
Beaten
tough
Galloway,
side.
who Galloway had beaten Kernahan, who obviously we had in commentary earlier. So they came through that tough section, but they were no match for Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers. And John Bradshaw has shown a few moments of why they have been so good so far at these Summerset Nationals, looking to go all the way through to this afternoon's final.
John Carruthers looking very closely at this bowl. Had a very good bowl with his first, and this bowl's going to come back, draw him back, won't get all the way back to the centre line, but certainly a good position on the head, holding a couple. Nicholas Thomset now trying to get down inside that line. We've already seen, as Brendan and I have spoken about, if you do get a wee bit out on that wide side, it's not that generous in coming back to the centre line. There's a good effort here from the composite Nicholas Thomset. That'll be second shot. Just sits in behind the jack.
Yeah, coming on that unfavoured side, certainly is preferred, playing on the backhand towards, sorry, the forehand rather, from the clubhouse back to the Alexandra Park end of the green.
There's a lot of head shaking and hands waving.
Well, you would think John Carruthers and Mike Bradshaw are down by plenty, really, with some of the body language.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But it's all tied up. Playing the 11th now of 18 ends.
Trying to get to the shot bowl was Nicholas Tomset, and just goes in behind to get another second shot.
Yeah, good bowl, another good bowl from the youngster.
And of course, what I think Mike Bradshaw's major concern is, sure, we've got the shot, but we haven't got anything over the head. Well, we've got the shot, you've got one jack level and you've got one short bowl, so it's not the end of the world, but there's certainly an advantage there for the Bay of Plenty side if they were able to get a touch on that jack close to the shot, which is sitting pretty close to the shot bowl. So Mike Bradshaw now. Definitely played some big bowls in the last couple of ends. Coming back now, he'll be happy with this because this is going to get towards those back bowls and sit inside there, and he'll be happy with that.
Another very good bowl from Mike Bradshaw.
And would count.
Yeah, better than the previous bowl of Nicholas Tomset.
Dan Dickinson will follow that bowled up at Mike Bradshaw's. The ideal result for him, of course, is that touch on the jack on what is his backhand side of the play on the backhand. Just got to hold that tighter line to get to the jack, and he's done so. He's under that, we're under the short bowl. It's on a good line to the jack. This bowl of Dan Dickinson's, he's going to get it clean. That's so unlucky. Played the perfect shot. Jack bounced back and sits on the shot bowl. May only be one though now, Brendan.
Yeah, most likely only one now, but yeah, very much a near miss from Dan Dickinson, who's certainly had his moments as well. We've spoken a lot about Mike Bradshaw and the bowls he's played, because he's come up with some huge bowls to steal the initiative back for his Royal Oak pairing. Dan Dickinson's been pretty solid skip of the Bay of Plenty pairing.
So there'll be no change to his shot selection here, endeavouring to get to the blue bowl. All of the jacks looked to it, got out on that wider side out of the hand. We'll need a bit of luck to get a feather off this to get to the jack. No, it doesn't. It does push another one of his own bowls back into that catching pen. 1, 2, 3 sitting back in there. If he's fortunate enough to get the jack through that hole, that gap through there.
Has this got the weight to reach the head? It's going to come up short.
It hasn't, but it's
blocked up.
It's a bit of pain for Dan Dickinson, that's for sure.
It's nuisance value, that bowl there.
It certainly alters the weight that he has to play to get to the jack or the shot bowl. But in saying that, Brenton, he could actually drive the blue bowl. Sure, he'd lose one of his own bowls out of the head, but he's got I'd say the next two, the one alongside and one jack low. And he's looking around. Yeah, definitely that draw, that we may still see that line, but it's very tight to get down there to that jack line now to get that trail on the jack. And I think he's looking now at that other option that we spoke about.
So after inspecting the head, looking at a few options, talking them through with his lead, Nicholas Tomset, Dan Dickinson makes his way back to the mat. One final look from the top of the green, back down towards the Alexandra Park end here at Carlton, Cornwall. He's playing with that extra weight, attacking.
Close to getting contact. Oh.
And he's knocked away the short bowl, which I don't think was counting. So it is just one more for Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers. So they now lead. The pairing of Dan Dickerson and Nicholas Tomsett. After Dickerson and Tomsett got off to a great start, they led 5-0 after 3 ends. From that moment, though, been some great work from Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers. John Carruthers came up with a couple of very big bowls, one memorable one when Dickerson and Tomsett were holding at least 4, potentially 5. And then he landed an absolute bomb to grab the shot back for his Royal Oak combination.
Well, that ninth end, it could turn out to be one of those ends that, determine, well, not say determine the final result, but certainly determine a lot about the game, because that makes a big scoring difference. As we see John Carruthers' bowl coming right back to the centre line. It's about half a metre, jack high, but right on the centre line. So Nicholas Tomsett giving the bowl the wave. I know that's a slow down wave. Perhaps it could be a bit of both, because fractionally on the wide side and a couple of metres, in fact, over the head right to the 2 metre mark. Of course, the other semi-final is also underway. Pat Houlihan and Howard O'Donnell playing Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill.
Yeah, that scoreboard's just been updated, so I should be able to bring you up to date with that very shortly. It was tied up last report. Now Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill have a bit of breathing space. 10-6 it is now after 12 of the 18 ends, and that means pairs semi-final. Pascoe and Hill leading Houlihan and O'Donnell.
So a change of hand here from Nicholas Tomsett as John Carruthers drew just in behind the jack. Tomsett changing to the forehand side. Again, is going to go by. Carruthers and Bradshaw holding 2 shots. Carruthers will continue down towards the clubhouse on his forehand. Former member here of Carlton, Cornwall, and the old Rawiti Club in Remuera, which is now a retirement village. So I would say Tomsett has to go back to the backhand. John Carruthers' short bowl blocked off and this bowl, Nicholas Tomsett, that's going to be disappointed with that. In fact, he'll be disappointed.
Yeah, all 3 of his bowls really.
Right, Brenton.
Yeah, not much for Dan Dickerson to work with there, especially that last bowl. Short and under the head, well under the line.
And talking about Ian Birch, there is Ian Birch at the bowls, just walking past us now. And is around the 90 age group he is now.
Sure, he still could have called an end or so. No doubt about it. But of a different broadcasting world now, though. So no doubt his time.
Another good bowl here from Mike Bradshaw. And this head starting to now look good for the Royal Oak combination, holding 3 shots. And very nice yesterday to get at the end of play a complimentary couple of words for you and myself, Brenton, from Stu Scott, who of course for many, many years did the radio coverage with Radio Sport and of course Sports Roundup in the old days.
What I grew up listening to.
The lazy, hazy days of summer.
Yeah, Stu, he really brought bowls to life on the radio Fantastic commentator.
So he sent us a note last night. So thank you for that, Stu.
Very kind of him. Coming from one of the very best.
So this end now is starting to look another good bowl here from Mike Bradshaw. One thing in Dan Dickinson's favour is that he's got 3 bowls there that he can rest on to get either the shot or second shot, but has to have that line on the draw that's going to get the bowl coming back towards the centre line to sit on those bowls. And he's not going to, I wouldn't think of that. That looks to be under to me unless he grabs the jack. No, he's not. That's going to slip by. So 2 ends ago, it was 4 or 5 holding shot the other way. Now we've got the identical here with the Royal Oak.
There's no wall low in front. That's the only difference.
No wall at all.
So slightly easier for Dickinson than it was for Bradshaw.
Let me
2
see.
ends ago.
Bowl of Mike Bradshaw's just slip away under the head. So now, big bowl here for Dan Dickinson, the skip of the composite Bay of Plenty side. Looks to be on a better line, but it's still going to, has to sit on
Is
something.
it going to find the gap? No. It's going to land on one of his previous, so you think that's 3. Yep, 3 taken away. Now, is this bowl, which is just almost just off centre, is that a 4th or is it just 3? I think it's just 3 by the way they quickly collected the other bowls. Yeah, 3 signalled there by Nicholas Tomset. Lead for Dan Dickinson. So this comeback from Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers continues. 11-7. Royal Oak pairing now leading Dan Dickinson and Nicholas Tomset. And to think there was a chance of Dickinson and Tomset were 1 bowl away from picking up a 4, potentially a 5 on the 9th end, which would have put them up 12-6 potentially, and now they're down 8-7.
11-7.
11-7 now because
11-7.
that's 3, obviously.
So I think we're going to be having a look at the umpire, Sue Rossiter, coming out.
Check the length of this one.
John Carruthers certainly has brought the mat quite a way up the green.
It looks all right.
Looks up from this point, from this monitor here, and yes, it is.
Just expertly done by the looks of things. Or not long enough.
No. I thought the way how Sue Rossiter indicated with the tape that.
So it must have just been short.
So I'm picking we'll see the mat go all the way back to the 2 metre mark, and I would say that the aim of the jack delivery from the Bay of Plenty side would be get it right down to the 2 metre mark. Let's change the length around. Let's get. And no, they've gone short. Well,
Yeah, I don't know if that was the aim.
No,
or not.
because this is the length of which 6 shots have been scored against them. Although they were holding that good head on the 9th on this length. But John Carruthers is now, the last 3 ends, has drawn some very good bowls from the lead spot.
So what's that, 4 straight ends that they've scored on?
Yes.
Bradshaw and Carruthers. 6 shots picked up. 3 singles and then that big 3 on the previous end.
Here's the gate. Been open slightly with John Carruthers going short and narrow under the centre line. Nicholas Tomset on his backhand. And that too is just going to sit alongside the jack outside the centre line, but will be good enough for shot.
Beautiful conditions here at Carlton Cornwall. Thought the wind had picked up for a moment. The flag was fluttering, but back down to being dormant. And they have clear blue skies above Green.
Well, there's no breeze at all, Brenton, now, is there? That flag was moving around a wee bit half an hour ago, but certainly not at present.
And Green started at a speed of around 17 seconds. No doubt will be around 18 now.
Yeah, it looks like, because you can see that yarder finish as you watch these bowls break in towards the head. You can just see they've got that last yard. You can see that view there, blue sky, perfect conditions, trees not moving.
The New Zealand flag is not interested today.
As we play the 13 of 18 ends in this semi-final, and this is at the point now for the Bay of Plenty side. A good bowl here from Carruthers, gets the jack, sits alongside it, draws a touch up, and this is where the Bay of Plenty side fall behind as we play end 13, certainly wanting to score a couple to make sure that the gap doesn't get too big over those last 3 or 4 ends.
They just want to stop the rot, don't they, as well?
Absolutely.
They've only scored 2 on the last 10 ends. Of Dan Dickerson and Nicholas Thomsett after jumping out to a 5-0 advantage.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
So, over the last 9 ends, isn't it? Because we're playing the 13th. So
they'll certainly want to score, won't they?
Yeah, just to stop the rot, as I mentioned, Royal Oak combination of Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers scoring 6 shots in the last 4 ends to take the lead.
Well, Mike Bradshaw, John Carruthers has played very well, but as we spoke about earlier on this morning, Brendan, those conversion shots, we've seen that happen twice now with Mike Bradshaw with 2 big bowls doing exactly that, and again holding the shot on this, the 13th end, when the skips change over. And that Mike Bradshaw bowl to come up short. See it sitting up there on the head. Oh, it's well short, in fact. So again, it's about finding that under that line on that backhand side, Brendan, to get down towards the jack or the bowl. Get out too wide, and you won't get any compliments at all if you get out too wide on that hand. So here is Dan Dickinson looking to play that shot, breaking down towards the head now, just going to disappear, run away slightly on him, turns her own bowl over. So it's important now, of course, as well for the Bradshaw combination that they get another bowl on the head. That'll be their main mission, to get another bowl there. And this bowl from Mike Bradshaw is going to be short and well under the head. And I wonder whether you might see, I just wonder whether it depends on what it looks like from the mat, of course, whether it's better for Dan Dickinson to try and drive that bowl off rather than try and play the half weight, and he's got.
He's going with that weighted bowl, not the drive. I thought he was winding up for a drive for a moment there. Looking to attack the head, but he's missed everything.
Well, I think now, at this point, you've tried 2 of those, what I would call palmy runners, as they used to be called by Peter Shaw, and you're better to drive it, try and get the bowl out. If not, you'll kill it.
Another one Mike Bradshaw's not happy with. Turns his back on it, slaps his thigh. You can see why. He knew it wasn't good.
They've got the next 3 shots on
if they can get rid of the shot bowl.
If they get rid of the shot bowl.
Yeah.
Hard shot to play.
Going for another one. 3rd time lucky. He's going to need it to move.
He's got to move now.
And it is.
Moving now. Moving now.
Oh, what a bowl. It is 3rd time lucky for Dan Dickinson. And it is 3. And they have stopped the rot here, have the Dickinson-Tomset combination. It took a top quality bowl. He persisted with it. He missed the target the first couple of times. He executed the third time. And it's now 11-10. Mike Bradshaw and John Carruthers leading Dan Dickinson and Nicholas Tomset. But that was much needed for the Bay of Plenty combination, Kevin Nicklin.
Absolutely. Just what we were talking about before, Brendan, about letting that number get away from you. And that was an exceptionally difficult shot to play, those run shots on greens at this speed. And you could see out of the hand of Dan Dickinson that bowl was certainly on a better line than the others and just nestled into the shot bowl. And there would be a header, for example, where Mike Bradshaw would be very disappointed with his three bowls because they really were of no consequence in the hit at all, were they? But full marks Dan Dickinson, and has got them right back into the game now, 11-10. As we start the 14th of 18 ends.
Yeah, that's why Mike Bradshaw, I think, was so disappointed, because he didn't do anything to make it difficult for Dan Dickinson. He gave Dan Dickinson 3 attempts at the same bowl because he was not able to change the picture at all.
Now, touch it straight away.
That's what you want, and that's the length they want. They want this longer length.
It's I know for those watching it just seems like a game of bowls, so to speak, but there is a lot involved in getting to where your strengths are and where your comfort is on the green, and that by scoring then they can dictate the length. And Nicholas Tomset done his job straight away.
I can let you know from the other semi-final as well. Looks like Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill have taken charge, 14-6. So they scored the last 8 there because it was 6 apiece. So now 14-6. Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill leading Pat Houlihan and Howard O'Donnell after 14 of the 18 ends. So they're an end ahead in the other semi-final.
So here comes the second bowl of Nicholas Tomset. Arcing towards the head, going to fall underneath the line, be a metre short. And the idea here now for John Carruthers with this second bowl, get a close second shot, and then with your third bowl, get in behind the head and not like that. And this is the sort of the tentative half runny shot. Instead of trying to draw to get second shot, then get into the back, so as then Mike Bradshaw can attack the head. And we've spoken about effective versus ineffective bowls, Brenton, and unfortunately for Mike Bradshaw, that's an ineffective bowl that John Carruthers has come up with there. And it's about, if you like, you play the likes of Mike Kernan and Gary Lawson, you also learn about how to play the head and Ali Forsyth, for example, is an expert at it, that let's not worry about that shot now. Let's play some other shots so we can then play the shot that we want to play rather than trying to play it all at once. I suppose that's why they've won world championships.
And as Mike Kernan, who was in commentary earlier, said, still world champions, of course.
Yeah,
longest reigning world champion after, of course, the World Championships that was supposed to be held in June last year, postponed. Hopefully this year.
Let's hope so, Brendan.
And I can hope. I think it's still a lot will have to change in the world, unfortunately, for that to be a reality.
I can tell you that the Musgrove Hills Club has had a semi-refurbishment all done. They've spent.
I hope they haven't changed the carpet. A great 70s carpet. Surely that hasn't been
that
changed.
Is quite iconic.
That'll be. I won't set foot in the club if they've done that. Yes. Otherwise, I want my hands on the carpet.
So, can you hear that, Crystal Leaf? Get the carpet changed before we arrive.
or send it over.
Yeah,
send it over to the Hutt Valley.
Yeah, they've spent a few million there refurbishing the club.
Oh wow!
And part of that, the club needed it. Of course, they wanted to do it, but it was also to be part of the whole World Bowls thing as well. They wanted to do some refurbishment work to the club. And Brian Baldwin and the team there at Musgrove Hill and Crystal Leaf, that's now been done. Here's another good bowl from Dan Dickinson. It's going to sit right on the centre line, toucher on the jack. One bowl target. It's a Killian this. If Mike Bradshaw makes contact, danger for Mike Bradshaw if he lifts his own bowl out of the head. But hard to draw for sure, but he might try with his first one to he ends it. This is the end 14. So
Yeah, I suppose what he'll be thinking, though, that I might not get a good opportunity, as clear a sight
correct.
of the jack and the shot bowls when I play my next bowl. So maybe now is the time to do it.
I think like do it early.
We'll see with the way he plays here. Doesn't usually waste his time on the mat when he's going for the drive, and here it comes. Here's the drive. Has he got
Close.
the target? Yes, he has, and that looks like it has spat out the side and been killed. And we will be replaying this, the 14th end, after a great setup by Thomsett, and Dickerson comes to naught. Well done by Mike Bradshaw. Not the first time he has killed an end.
Oh, that was a great drive because it was a one-bowl target. There wasn't any bowls to work off. There was just the front bowl that was there to make contact with. And obviously by making contact it would kill. And of course they have rightly, from the Bay of Plenty side, they've taken the bowls back, playing from the same end again. As that's where they felt holding a good head. So that's right, we'll try that again. So Nicholas Thomsett, no doubt, will try and get the jack down, right down again towards the 2 metre mark where they had success. Not quite as far, but 3/4 length head.
And we'll see how they go with this length. Nicholas Thomsett, it was right on the money with his first bowl. And the first time they tried this 14th end.
Interesting. We've seen Thomsett change his hand now, coming down this way with that. Feels more comfortable on that forehand side. Carruthers will come down on that same side now. What is his backhand?
Here's the left-hander.
He's got the bolt under the line though, as did Thomsett. That's going to
nestle alongside that bowl almost, just inside. And it actually made its way back to the centre line, surprisingly. I thought that was going to come under.
And I thought it was going to sit under that bowl as well. So Thomsett now quickly into his work, trailing 11-10 after 13 of the 18 ends is the Bay of Plenty composite side. And it's got a good arc on the bowl now, just breaks towards the centre line. Falls in, maybe shot. Oh, it's a long way away from, obviously, we're looking through the monitors.
Oh, really, this semi-final is anyone's. Just one shot in it. This and 4 other ends to go.
This looks a better bowl from John Carruthers, just going to get down in front of the jack. So then Dickinson indicating to Nicholas Thomsett, just follow that bowl of John Carruthers. And in fact is going to pull up short, not what you wanted. And again now it's left at Brendan with a one-hand finish now with the backhand side closed up.
Yeah, it's the forehand side for the right-hander, and for left-hander like John Carruthers, his backhand is the way they will play now. One side blocked.
This is another good bowl from Carruthers, and that's making that line to the jack now for Dan Dickinson. It's a draw only.
3 pretty decent bowls. It could be they're holding 3 for the leads. Thomsett's deepest bowl may just cut that to just 2.
So very important in this now. 14th, as Brendan said, the Royal Oak side either holding 2 or 3. Dan Dickinson surveying it from the mat. Tall police prosecutor from the Tauranga Domain Club. It looks on the wide side out there. It's now starting to work back. How's the weight?
Just not enough.
Oh, he won't like that, Brenton, because that's really tacking that line up now. It's making it really hard, that draw line down there now.
Yeah, it's going to provide plenty of nuisance value, that bowl, if he's to try and access the head, which Bradshaw and Carruthers are controlling. Looking to get around that short bowler Dickinson is Bradshaw, and he will.
Yeah, Bradshaw can get around there. Now that should be a sighter now for Dan Dickinson to really. Now he's changing his hand, is he, to try and play down there with searching weight down through on that backhand. No, he's keeping with that draw.
I think it's certainly possible to access.
Well, if he follows the line of what Mike Bradshaw,
narrow.
Just very narrow in that line, he's now got trouble.
He's only got one bowl remaining, and holding all the shots at the moment are Bradshaw and Carruthers.
Well, just a point here, Brenton, is what Dan Dickinson's got to think of is forget about the shot. If he draws to the back bowl and behind that, if he draws to the darkest coloured bowl here, that would virtually give him second shot. If he could get just inside that bowl, he would literally get close enough to second shot. The psychological thing you're doing is trying to narrow your line down, trying to get to the shot, and that's very, very difficult. Now the mindset really has got to be about drawing to that back bowl, get second shot, and who knows, it could fall in and get shot. But it's not actually, with the 11-10 the scoreboard, you just can't drop a number. So second shot has to be the objective, and it's on a good line, this bowler Dan Dickinson's. How's the weight though? How's the weight as it's breaking its way now to?
It's very good. It's very good. If it falls in, is it gonna fall in? I think it still might be good enough a shot.
Looks like it from here.
No indication from either lead, Carruthers or Summerset. And quickly to work is Bradshaw, not mucking around. He clearly thinks it's shot. Didn't need to look. He's not far away either. Is he going to go through the gap? No, he finds his way through the gap. So I think that's one more for Summerset and Dickinson. And again, Dickinson with his third delivers. You were saying he needed to make sure he at least got second. Well, I think he's done one better than that. He has got the shot, and they retain the jack and the mat, and we are all locked up, I believe, at 11 apiece.
Yeah, it's about Brendan using, in situations like that, using that bowl as your sighting line, not the front of the head as your sighting line to where the jack is, because the minute you do that, the likelihood is you are going to go narrow. So make your sighting line to that back bowl where you know you've got a good chance of getting second shot. If you're perfect, like that bowl was, you may get the shot.
This is one of two semi-finals. The men's pairs ongoing here at Carlton Cornwall. The other, I've just seen the scoreboard being updated, so I'll be able to bring you an update very shortly. The match with the composite combination of Jamie Hill and Lance Pascoe up against Pat Houlihan and Howard O'Donnell, and it is Pascoe and Hill who are leading 17-8 over Houlihan and O'Donnell after now 15 of the 18 ends in the other men's pairs semi-final.
So John Carruthers with a good opening bowl here, doing a touch on the jack. Yes, he does, and sits in behind it after the Nicholas Summerset bowl was wide out on the draw. And well, there's been three big telling ends so far in this game. I think that on that ninth end, when 4 or 5 down, Mike Bradshaw drew the shot, and then on the 13th end, when again Dan Dickinson was down and he played that jack trail, got 3, and then that last end again, down again, drew the shot. Like 3 big ends, and again Carruthers and Bradshaw have got the right start on this head, that's for sure. Nicholas Summerset's got 2 ineffective bowls there, sadly, so the pressure on his last bowl. And then Dan Dickinson will be saying to There's a young lead. Don't try and get me the shot. Just get. It's the idea. Just get him behind around here. It's fine.
Just want something to work with. Does Dickerson from his lead Summerset.
He's on a better line with this bowler, isn't it? This Summerset. How's the weight on this one as it breaks towards the jack? Just going to skip under it, but that's fine. Gives him another bowl now. That's handy to him now, Brendan. That's what he wanted, that second shot.
Yeah, certainly. Great bowl, great adjustment from Summerset, who was well off with his first couple. Ineffective bowls, as you said, Kevin. But his third gives Dan Dickerson something to work with.
John Carruthers on the stalk walk off the mat.
Making his way down the green to the head. Both the leads now. Good. Another bowl from John Carruthers.
Very good bowl from John Carruthers.
Tell when he gets that walk on, that's going to be pretty handy.
11 all after 14 of 18 ends.
So, holding a couple, you'd think there.
Looks like two for sure, Brendan.
Carruthers.
Here on the monitor.
So, just 3 ends remaining after this. So, we're fast running out of ends to decide this contest. Of course, we're still level after 18 ends. We will play on. Need to find a winner, of course, to make it through to this afternoon's final, which is due to start in around an hour's time.
So Dan Dickinson on his forehand will try and reach up to these two counting bowls or the jack. Breaking in towards their head now. More than not, you're going to just skip, sits on the Summerset bowl and one of the Carruthers bowls. So there's 4 bowls now clustered around the jack. 2 belonging to the Carruthers Bradshaw side and 2 to the Dickerson Summerset side. Is the bowl of Mike Bradshaw is on that wider line.
And then the other 4 bowls are all
Nowhere.
corners of the green. It's quite bizarre, really.
So can Dan Dickinson yet again play one of those conversion shots, of which he's played a few in this game?
Yeah, last couple of ends in particular.
He's looking at this one closely. It's breaking down towards the jack and the shot bowl. How's this looking?
Oh, wonderfully done. I think they've certainly got shot.
I think so. I think that back bowl may well be shot.
Jack's sitting on one of those bowls. But what another conversion shot from Dan Dickerson. 3 ends in a row now from the Bay of Plenty composite pairing skip.
Of course, the thing for Mike Bradshaw is he can't attack and lose his own bowl, because if he lost his own bowl, that'd at least be 3 down. And Dan Dickinson with another bowl left, he may sort of play that same weight as what we just saw Dan Dickinson play, to squeeze up through that head. But that was a magnificent bowl, because it wasn't a big target to get down to the jack at all, was it? Although there was 4 bowls there, it was a matter of centimetres.
And now Bradshaw's looking at what can I do here, because if he risks playing with that kind of weight, he could remove his own bowl. Doesn't have the strength and numbers there that Dickerson has.
Well, we'll wait and see, but the indication that, one indication was to drive at the front back bowl. Well, the other one was to, I don't know what John Carruthers means to that bowl there on the outside of the centre line. I think it's one of those heads. If you're going to attack it, you've got to attack it hard and heavy. Otherwise, you're a chance of dropping your own bowl out of the head. You're going to play with the weight. You're going to play it with full-blooded weight.
So taking their time over this.
Applause over there in the Jamie Hill game. I see it.
I don't think it's over yet. But maybe it is. Yeah, there's shake hands time over there. So having led 17-8 playing the 16th. They must have capitalised on that end as well, because they have called it over. So our first finalists have been found in the men's pairs, and it is the combination of Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill, who we saw earlier. Here comes the drive from Bradshaw, and that was the danger. Got his own, but thankfully for him, he got rid of the black balls too, although given
It's still not
might
good.
still be 2 or 3.
No, I know it's made it easier insofar as it was only one shot before anyway,
True.
and now the nearest bowl I can see of the Bradshaw combination is in fact the Carruthers bowl, which is sitting way out to the
right.
side there. And sure, there's plenty of room to draw, to save, but it's just, and it's what we spoke about, Brendan. You could get that bowl clean out of the head, and the shot bowl stayed there. So can now Dan Dickinson capitalise on that drive of Mike Bradshaw? See Mark Cameron, CEO of Bowl New Zealand, just arrive. Make sure we're working.
I assume he's been elsewhere around the city, with, of course, women's peers section play starting today at a number of clubs around the Auckland and North Harbour centres.
That's 2. Bradshaw now on the backhand. Definitely 2 down on the head.
Wants a good second here.
Certainly brought that line. He's brought that line in. How's the weight? Is it walking past on the weight? We're going to get second shot as Brendan
very
spoke
well
about.
done.
Well played by Michael Bradshaw.
Makes it just 1. They were holding a number there. Didn't need to have a fantastic bowl to get third shot, but needed a pretty decent bowl to get second, and did. So 1 more to Dan Dickinson and Nicholas Thomsett. They now lead 12-11 after 15 of the 18 ends. So just 3 remain here for the right to play Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill in the men's pairs final here at the Summerset Nationals at Carlton, Cornwall and Auckland.
And this semi-final, as you can tell from the scoreboard, at 12-11, it's certainly anybody's game, and we're certainly seeing, Brendan, the heads change around, aren't we, in those latter stages now, where there's been opportunities for a team to pick up a 2 or 3 or a 4 and 1 bowl, and well done there by Michael Bradshaw drawing that second shot. Now the jack's been delivered right to the 2 metre mark by Nicholas Thomsett. So we're playing now the full length head. We'll see John Carruthers now go to what is his backhand, playing down towards the clubhouse end here at the Carlton Cornwall Club. Absolutely magnificent conditions here today. And this looks on a good line, this bowler John Carruthers, coming down towards the 2 metre mark where the jack's sitting, and it's going to sit right alongside front of the jack. Very good bowl. I think the other young Nicholas Thomsett would be more comfortable on the backhand than the forehand, because he certainly struggled coming down this way on this forehand. He'll most likely go and draw the shot now, but it's on a better line. It's going to fall short of the finish on the centre line.
There's a good correction. Just needs a metre more of weight. Unfortunately, on that forehand side, there is the Carruthers bowl right in line to the jack now on that forehand. Carruthers
Definitely gone wider with this second bowl of John Carruthers.
asking a lot of that one.
And as long as it stays up on the green, I won't be too concerned, because it's go to the back of the head. Any attacking play that might come about, it's to their advantage. So Nicholas Thomsett now needs to just improve slightly on that second bowl of his. And this is coming down towards the head now. This is on a pretty good line, this bowl. Is it just going to go past that of the shot bowl, down past the 2 metre mark with a wee bit of weight? That's fine.
Yeah, It certainly is. Not a bad home at all. We talked about if there is any of that jack movement.
So John Carruthers now playing his third and last bowl on the 16th end. Looked to be on a fairly good line. And I just touched the bowl of Nicholas Thomsett and turn it over. No damage though, where he still holding the shot. And you can see now on the screen that back bowl of Nicholas Thomsett's is not a bad spot at all, Brendan, if that jack moves, because it's sitting just about directly under the number. And I'm picking that Dan Dickinson will play with just over draw weight to try and reach that bowl of Carruthers.
And most ends we have seen jack movement as well, so be surprising if there isn't a change here with the way that these two skips have been playing too, and their ability to access the head.
Father of two of our great All Blacks just walking in, Ken Wetton, father of Gary and Alan Wetton, the twins, just walking into the club. So here is Dickinson, and he's playing as we talked about, Brendan, trying to play with that weight down to that bowl and get his own front bowl of Nicholas Thomsett's, turn that into the head, turn it over one more time, he's got shot.
I think that is shot two. Wonderfully done by Dan Dickinson. Used that earlier bowl of Thomsett's to perfection. And Carruthers saying, Bradshaw, you try and do the same to me.
Same shot. Yeah.
You try and promote my bowl, which is not far away from being the shot, which was the shot, and then we could have it back.
And of course the advantage as well that Dan Dickinson has got now that he's played that magnificent conversion bowl again, that he does have the back bowl as well, that bowl of Nicholas Thomsett's, which is sitting down under the number. So here's now Michael Bradshaw on his forehand, will try and follow what Dan Dickinson has just done, and he might in fact get that bowl. He's not far away, and got their own bowl, got the Dickinson bowl, turned it onto the shot, and that makes it harder now, Brenton. And we'll see, I'm sure Dan Dickinson now will change his hand, will go nowhere near the head on that side for sure now, and try and draw down on what is his backhand to get to the 2 metre mark. But that first bowl that Dan Dickinson played, that was a perfectly judged bowl to get to those two front bowls, either one, to turn them in towards the head to the jack, and he did that with just perfect weight.
And it certainly was, and because the jack's been moved back a tiny bit as well from where it once was, now there is actually a bit of room on this backhand side to try and draw a second for Dickinson.
Well, if he's fortunate enough to draw virtually to the tee on that backhand side, it would just about count if he gets to that tee on the backhand side of the rink. Of course, we are playing on a full length head. The mat is right back, and in fact the jack is sitting right down on that 2 metre mark, which you can see there on the camera. And if we can get to that 2 metre tee mark,
this isn't bad.
This is close. This is very close. Have a look at this.
Falls in.
Have a look at this.
It's not going to fall in, but that's good enough for shot anyway. What a bowl from Dan Dickinson. Two absolute stunners.
Superb bowls.
Two bombs from Dickinson.
Of course, Mike Bradshaw here
needs to respond
and play with weight, reaching weight, and I suppose what could happen, unfortunately, for Mike Bradshaw, it could just get the split onto those two bowls, and they just split apart, trying to get them to run directly into the head. But Dan Dickinson, two magnificent bowls. He's played some big bowls his last few ends, Brendan, hasn't he? Some real conversion bowls of class.
He's replied to Mike Bradshaw in kind, hasn't he? Because Bradshaw himself came up with a number of big bowls.
A lot more weight with this one, trying to get to the front bowls. He's going to get, in fact, Might only be one now. I'm not sure because he turned some bowls into the head. Nicholas Tomsett having a look. I think it's still two, actually, when you look at where the tee's sitting.
Yeah, I think still holding a couple. Dickerson and Tomsett. A bowl each to play for the skips, Dickerson and Bradshaw. And Dickerson with Tomsett having a long look at the situation. The pace is going to slow down even further as we get to these last three ends because of how close this is. And this is a men's pairs semi-final international championships, Summerset Nationals here at Carlton Cornwall in Auckland. Big moment in this game. They can execute here, Dickerson and Tomsett. They might just pull clear and make it very difficult for Bradshaw and Carruthers.
So Bradshaw has certainly got to play with, I would say, full drive weight to the two blue bowls that are out to the side. And going for cover now is Dan Dickinson, who has been on the ends 13, 14 and 15, but other ends as well, but 13, 14 and 15 and now 16 has been absolutely outstanding in the bowls that he's played, because remembering they were 11-7 behind at at end 12. They were 11-7 behind. So Mike Bradshaw looking to
Dixon there looking for a bit of cover, thinking that Bradshaw plays an aggressive shot again, that maybe this is where the jack could have spat out. Wanted to get amongst that back bowl of Carruthers, as you can see.
What he's got to be very careful of as well. Now, I hope not to try and drive it on the back end, because he was to try and drive it on the back end, and so he's under the line. He can actually peel both of those two bowls completely out of the head. So he's got to drive it on the forehand to reduce that risk. But of course, the Tomsett combination have still got the advantage of the back bowls, and with driving, one would think it's not going to get to the jack. The way how they're sitting depends where it hits or doesn't hit.
So Bradshaw and Carruthers having a long discussion now. Bradshaw starts a slow walk back to the mat.
They are slow walks, aren't they?
They're not quick, that's for sure.
Deliberate.
The right to play Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill in this afternoon's final of the men's pairs.
He is driving on that forehand, and it's on its way. And that forehand drive to try and get down to, and it's missed everything.
Knocks away one of his wide bowls. So is it one or is it two for Dickerson and Tomsett? Well, the players don't need a measure. Certainly another for Dickerson. We'll have to wait and see. The scoreboard is updated. Mike Bradshaw doing the honours. From our viewpoint, maybe would favour Dickerson to get a couple.
So Jack's been delivered by Nicholas Tomsett, playing up towards the Alexander
It was
Park end.
two.
It was two.
So 14-11. Dickerson and Tomsett now leading. Bradshaw and Carruthers. 2 ends remaining of the 18. An end that Bradshaw and Carruthers you'd think must win.
Got to win this end. So here's Nicholas Tomsett opening bowl. That's a pretty handy opener right back to the centre line.
And you take that if you're Dickerson, that's for sure.
So the big thing now for John Carruthers, and I know it'll be indicated by the skip, don't be short.
And we've already seen how Bradshaw has reacted to some short bowls. Hasn't been too happy with them.
No.
So hopefully John Carruthers has got the length through. I know he is short with his first. That's exactly what Mike Bradshaw doesn't want. Of course, it wouldn't have been the intention of John Carruthers to have it short.
So change of hands by Nicholas Tomsett. Doesn't want to get tied up in the short bowl there of John Carruthers, but he's sort of nipped his green quite significantly and sits up now. The difficulty is that one hand is virtually cut off after 3 bowls.
The Leeds have done this a few times, haven't they? As their play, blocked up one side. So Carruthers now, with the left-hander, will be almost forced to play on his backhand. Summerset on his forehand with his third bowl.
And Sparrow's out there enjoying themselves.
Yeah, a couple of them now.
Yeah, they're enjoying themselves out there, aren't they?
Enjoying the spotlight of being involved in the men's pairs semi-final in front of us.
So a jack-level draw from John Carruthers, about half a metre. Nicholas Thompson quickly into his work on his forehand. Just trying to draw inside that John Carruthers bowl. It's going to come under the line.
Unfortunately for Summerset, that's sort of been the tail of his outing. Erratic. He's certainly had some very good bowls, but they certainly haven't been 3 consistent bowls. Most ends.
No, well,
been all over the clock.
Tends to sort of, and it can happen. This might be a bit of luck for the Carruthers side. They got a feather off the front bowl. That also was running very narrow, that bowl.
Yeah, he certainly got luck there, did Carruthers. That might be enough for a shot, you know.
It's our danger that you try and steer your bowl under the line rather than, if you watch, Taylor Bruce is a classic case of watching where you don't get under the line. You make sure that you don't steer the bowl under the line. You let the bowl get out to the line rather than trying to get inside. Just like golf, if you know very well, if you don't get that swing smooth, it's not going to go where you want it to go. So Dan Dickinson on the mat, being very impressive. Very impressive the last few ends for sure. Down on the head, leading 14-11. It's on a good line. It's on a good line. They're going to get past and get shot.
If it fell in, it might have. It's pretty close between all those bowls,
It is
really.
pretty
None,
good, yeah.
none of them are within a metre, I don't think.
There's a good sider though by Dan Dickinson. He knows he's just got to hold that weight and just alter the line fractionally, and he'd be right into that jack line.
Penultimate end of this men's pairs semi-final. Summerset National singles and pairs at the Carlton Cornwall Club in Auckland. Beautiful conditions. Good crowd in attendance for what's been some very hotly contested bowls between these two combinations.
I mean, how far is this bowl going to run under the line of Mike Bradshaw? Certainly that won't be in the count. Well, might have had a reasonably good weight, but cut under the line. Just a slight adjustment here for Dan Dickinson, and he'd certainly have shot. And looks to be on a similar line to that was his first. Now just got to get under this blue bowl of John Carruthers. Not going to. He's going to tip it in around the corner. That could make shot.
Yeah, that'll work.
That'll
Going that
work.
way. I don't think that was exactly the intention. Was looking to get inside those wing bowls. Instead got outside and then got a nice favourable
Backward cut.
slice here on that earlier bowl. His first. Now to hold shot, that's for sure. Bradshaw taking his time on the mat. You've been watching all day here on Sky Sport Next. You'll certainly note the change of pace in this game.
On the drive to the shot bowl is Michael Bradshaw, and he's going to go by, get nothing.
He's unable to convert this time. He's going to get one more opportunity though, Bradshaw. And he has converted a number of times with these weighted shots, be it killing an end or grabbing an end for his Royal Oak pairing. Dickinson and Summerset out of Bay of Plenty. Dickinson, Park Domain. And Summerset Mount Maunganui. Tauranga Domain, excuse me. For Dickinson, as he's plays his last of the penultimate end.
See, out on a wider line this time. How far is it going to come back? If it's got dead draw weight, it could come all the way back, but it's short of weight. And of course now Bradshaw is more than likely committed. Right. There could be 3 shots here. There's been, if he drives, he could actually get the shot bowl and the back bowl of as well, which is more than likely 3rd shot on the drive. Is Mike Bradshaw trying to get
Not
that
far away this
touch
time.
the jack. It may not have killed.
May not have killed now.
It may not have killed. Feathered off another bowl towards the ditch.
Where's it ended up?
1 shot. I see John Carruthers.
John Carruthers put up a 1. I don't think anything is that close, so I think maybe Tomset's not willing to give up the 1 yet. Or no, 1 agreed. I thought there might be a measure.
Yeah, I thought we were going to see the string tape out.
So 1, 2, Bradshaw and Carruthers. He got the jack, and then it rebounded off another bowl and didn't go dead, which I think would have been the intention if he wasn't able to get it clean, the jack. Take it straight back into the ditch, but it's worked out anyway. So 1 more to Bradshaw and Carruthers, 14-12 as we now get ready to play the 18th and final end. It is the Bay of Plenty combination.
Good skipping here though from Michael Bradshaw, because John Carruthers wanted to take the mat up the green. The last 4 ends, both sides have been they've been playing with the mat back, so you know where your line is, you know where the weight is. Last end, just do what you've been playing rather than try and not say be smart, but rather just.
Is it going to be long enough? How far up is the mat? I don't think it's far. Oh, is the mat all the way back? Is it? It'd have to be
right back. So this is the minimum length, virtually the minimum length head that they're playing here. So this is a real test on a last end of a clinching game like this. There's green run at just on 18 seconds, and the margin of error with weight is minimal. So John Carruthers is
not a bad start.
Good opener. It's going to run by the jack.
Better to be a bit long than short.
Tomset on his forehand, definitely on a wider line than the left-handed Carruthers. Looks to have a bit of speed on it though, Brendan, as it goes by. It comes to the centre line at 2 metres over. He can adjust off that, that's for sure. The line's good.
Yeah, just needs to pull back that weight. And obviously it's quite a big adjustment from the lengths they have been playing the last few ends.
Big adjustment.
Played almost the longest possible end previously, now shortest possible. Another good bowl from Carruthers.
And for the Dan Dickinson side, although they're down on the head, that's actually not all bad, because it does give you a really good sight of where that line and where you've got to try and draw to. As we see Nicholas Tomset now, looks as though that's going to just drift around the Carruthers bowl, but has it got the bit heavy? Not really that much heavy. It's only half
it's
a
a pretty
metre.
good bowl.
It's a pretty good bowl, and the length
Line
that
is
they're
perfect.
playing.
Just a metre too much weight. Not bad at all. Good response from his first. Good correction. And just has to capitalise with his third, does Tomset really. Learn from that previous one.
This is well played by Carruthers. This is very well played by Carruthers.
Lovely touch up and trailing it towards his first bowl. Good 3 bowls really for Carruthers on a crunch final end.
Very good.
Of a
3 bowls.
semi-final. National semi-final nonetheless.
Yeah, Nicholas Tomset staying on that hand. Just bringing the line in fractionally as the jack has been moved. See where that bowl comes to in but a moment. The Tomset bowls are going to give enough for... Well, that's 2 shots. And 3 to come from Dan Dickinson, 3 to come from Mike Bradshaw. And of course, from the Dickinson point of view, second shot's fine.
Absolutely. That's what their target will be. They will not mind dropping a 1. That is fine. They'll still win the match. And that is the aim, after all, to get through to the final. If you've just joined us recently, awaiting them in the winner of this contest, Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill, who have beaten Pat Houlihan and Howard O'Donnell in their semi-final. Completed a few moments ago. Oh, he's again not the, maybe that was even the wind potentially, a bit of a wind gust.
There was. I just see that
the wind in the background.
Signage there just moving. Now, I think we'll also see Dan Dickinson also playing on that backhand, because there's a bowl to sit on there over the head. That bowl of John Carruthers. And it's certainly now a good backhand sider for second shot.
So, holding, I think, is potentially 3. Bradshaw and Carruthers, which is what they need to win the semi-final and advance to this afternoon's decider. But Dan Dickinson has 3 bowls left, and he will know he doesn't need to get shot. If he gets second, it'll be job done. They'll be playing Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill in the final.
On its way, on the backhand, is the Dan Dickinson bowl. This looks on a pretty good line. How's the weight, Brendan? How's the weight going to get all the way down to get to second shot? Will it be second shot? No.
Maybe third. Maybe. Hard to tell from our angle, but you'd think he's going to need to improve on that. Of course, if they get 2 Bradshaw and Carruthers, we're going to have to play an extra end to decide this contest.
So here's now Mike Bradshaw on his backhand, definitely holding on this, the last end. This looks a good bowl of Bradshaw's as it breaks towards the head, and that will certainly count.
Wow, now it's all on Dan Dickinson. Has to play 2 big bowls, and he's played some big ones already in this contest.
On the backhand, on the mat, it's on its way. I question the weight, Brendan, on that one.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look like it's got the weight, so now it's all going to rest on his last bowl. The last bowl of the 18 ends.
So, Bradshaw certainly won't want to try and sit right on top of the jack, I wouldn't think. Going to have a look at it now as well as Dan Dickinson.
And why wouldn't you?
Again, on that good line is Mike Bradshaw. Misses a good bowl as well. It's going to go by, but that's still a good home there. And the head belongs to the Royal Oak combination at this point in time.
I think that's at least 3. Potentially 4.
Well,
and it doesn't really matter if it's 3 or 4.
It's just, I know it's easy to say sitting here, but it's one of those things where second shot is, you know, the game to play for, not the shot. If you get the shot, it's a bonus. And I'm just wondering whether he's looking at driving. Well, it's a hard target to drive it as well, because you don't know where bowls are actually going to go.
Only has 1 chance as well, 1 bowl.
And let's be honest, it is exceptionally hard to dare draw the shot on that short, on that very short length head. It's a very, very big challenge. Here he is, Dan Dickinson, man of the moment. One way or the other on a second, and he looks as though it's on the draw on the backhand.
Oh, it's all on this bowl. From the skip of this Bay of Plenty pairing, Dan Dickinson. Looks on a decent line. Has it got the weight? I don't think so.
Hasn't got the weight, Brendan.
Certainly doesn't have the weight. And that should be match Bradshaw and Carruthers. Well, they've taken away 2.
Looks like 3, Brendan.
They've shaken hands, but Nicholas Tomset wants to do the measure. Bradshaw and Dickinson have shook hands. And so does Nicholas Tomset and John Carruthers, and they pick up at least 3 on their final end to the Royal Oak pairing, and they snatch it on the 18th and final end, beating Dan Dickinson and Nicholas Tomset 15-14 in an absolute thriller. We will see them again shortly in the final of the men's pairs. They'll be taking on Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill. Kevin, your final thoughts before we take a quick break and then be back with all the final action.
Well, it came down to a couple of ends, and they were the big scoring shots that happened, but from both skips, and it just came down really that very last end. 2 things that happened on that last end. One I disagreed with, but I was wrong, and how they shortened the length of the head up to that. You know, it's hard to respond on an 18-second green to a very, the shortest length you could play. But John Carruthers responded and drew 3 very good bowls for the Bradshaw side, which really gave them a good command of the head before the skips changed over. Dan Dickinson, who had played big bowls on the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th end, just couldn't quite do it. And of course that lucky drive for Bradshaw on the 17th where the jack went into the ditch, with the Tauranga side were holding the shot. One of those games could have gone either way, but the last end and the way how John Carruthers played that short end so well was the setting up of the win, and John Carruthers and Mike Bradshaw now through to the final.
Yeah, indeed they are, and we will see them again around 2:30 when they take on Lance Pascoe and Jamie Hill in our men's pairs final. Make sure you join us then here on Sky Sport Next.
Camera's going to go down.